there's certain times of the year when it might be more challenging to keep your enthusiasm going for, especially the spiritual part of your journey. And we're at one of those moments in time because it's closing a year and getting ready to start a new year. So we thought we would share a little bit about kind of what's going on energetically and maybe some upkeep we can do during the holiday seasons, no matter whatever holiday you celebrate, and moving into the new year. Ready,
Sounds
Tom?
good. Of course.
Okay, so what's your take on where we're at, Tom, and or what's been going on that you want to share about?
Well, as we move into the Christmas holiday season,
Jingle bells,
we're
jingle
full on
bells.
into it
Yes.
because it's only a couple of 2.5 weeks away or something like that.
Yep.
And you had an experience the other day that you shared with me, and I thought this would make a great podcast episode where we can kind of talk about reinforce the purpose of getting to know my sensitivity and that, the spiritual part of my life so that I can move through this time more clearly and more relaxed. So I thought, based on your experience, that we could, cover a couple of those things that come up this time of year.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And also because I don't know, for myself, it seems like December is a heightened month. There's a lot going on energetically. I think it's also the winter solstice and just being a sensitive person, I can feel so much of what others are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done this my whole life. And lately I had a situation the other day that happened to me that I recognized again how sensitive I am and how if I don't trust what I'm feeling or stop and take a moment, it can really affect me and it can really influence how I move through my day. So what happened to me is my mom's been in the hospital for about going on her third week now, and she's got different things going on and they can't figure out. And so anyway, she was having a procedure done, and I was at my house during when she was having it done, and all of a sudden I started feeling out of sorts. I noticed in my head I couldn't make sense, and I was like, I was really disoriented. And this has happened to me before.
Mm-hmm.
I've had several times where, like, when my grandma died, my brother died, my uncle, I mean, different things, like certain situations when people that have been close to me have passed on, I've felt what they've been going through. So I was downstairs going, okay, this is really weird. And so I paused for a moment. I cleansed. I did our cleansing technique, and I was like, what is going on with me? And I immediately got my mom. Oh, okay, it's something my mom's going through. And then it subsided, and I went on, and just maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I connected my mom and I said, hey, are you back in your room? Yes. And she explained to me that she had a real bad headache from the procedure she had done. She felt out of sorts and just not with it. I mean, really, but she didn't feel herself. And so I shared with her how it's uncanny that, as much as we can say, oh, we're all connected and we're all one and we're all this, we truly friggin' are. There's no question. And for myself, being a sensitive person, there are these times when I really recognize how connected I am energetically and feeling to other people.
Yeah, and I think that some of the thoughts that are in the environment, it's like, oh my God, Christmas is coming. How am I going to afford Christmas? Are we going to be able to get all of this stuff done? On the one hand, there's this positive thoughts and feelings about Christmas coming up because it's a long holiday and it's a time of giving, and that Christmas spirit kind of start to show up in the environment, and people are just a little nicer and more relaxed. And on the other hand, it's a time where people will feel very lonely or under pressure. And I noticed that, when I was in my business situations, that some of this is starting to creep in already, like impatience of people wanting to get something done, or feeling under pressure financially at this time of year. And especially people with some experience, they go, boy, I don't want to go into January in debt again, like, I have in so many other times of the year. So for me, it's important to start to discern, as you did, whose feelings are those? And the other day, I was picking up on some of that, and I tuned into that and I checked with my guidance, and they said, that's just in the environment. And I went,
Oh,
oh,
interesting.
okay. Yeah, because I have no real worries about,
Mhm.
finances. Everything's fine, in terms of our particular situation at this time. And, I have some goals and there's things I'd like to achieve, but overall, we're in okay shape. We're in good shape. So uh, that's something that I thought I'd, bring up in terms of what I had experienced. And is there anything you'd like to share about that before I go on? There's a couple of things, but let's take them one at a time.
Right. Yeah. Like an unpacking, maybe.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of layers to all of this. Because what I've been noticing on social media and some of the people that I'm surrounded by is there are a lot of people, and it seems like this does happen in December too, around these big, shifts of energy and things going on and different time frames throughout the year. Is I've noticed people, there've been more people with illnesses and more people who have someone that's in the hospital or someone that passed on, or it always seems like, or someone that I know, someone that's husband just lost their job. Like
Mm.
there's big things that occur at different time frames. And so like what you're saying is being able to discern and being able to, how do I roll and how do I work with the energy that's around me or in my environment or in my workplace or on social media where, we're all connected all over the world. How do I work with that and stay relaxed as I myself am not hurting, I'm in a good place. Like you said, finances, like everything is okay right now. So how do I roll when I'm picking up other people's stuff?
We exist in a highly intellectual world, and often the feeling part where your inner wisdom lies gets left out. There's a way to feel more in balance with all parts of yourself. This way is by accessing a spiritual bigger picture of who you are as a soul. Check out the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Wayshowers College to support your journey and moving through this game of life. Your intellect and feeling parts will love it.
Yeah, and for me, it's once I got in touch with my guidance, as I'd had experiences before with my spiritual helpers or angels, and but when I got to develop that two-way communication, like I can just stop and mentally cleanse if I'm in a business situation or I don't want to physically, do that little technique that we have, but and just recheck with my guidance. And I find when I've had similar experiences to yours that as soon as I identify where those feelings are coming from, those emotional feelings I'm going through, it just like dissipates right away. So one of the keys I know is checking, if you can check with your guidance, checking to what percent of what I'm feeling is me. Because there might be some, of that there. There's maybe it's 15%, though it's not 85, percent you, it's 85% something else you're picking up on. So again, this is all about, I guess, moving through life, discovering who we really are as souls and energy and how we are connected. And then I think the other thing that's occurring to me is, so what's the purpose of me picking up on that feeling? What do I do with that? Is that okay? Like in my work situation, what comes to me from my guidance right now is just stay relaxed. People are going to be under pressure and just stay relaxed. That's a healing to be in my presence
God, I think that's so
when I'm
good.
relaxed.
Right, right. And I think that's really important right now in the time frame we're in because even like at my work, people are they're intense, they're stressed out and they're not relaxed about the end of the year and getting all the finances done and how we're going to end the year and I felt that in the last week and a half too, kind of ramping up and the intensity of it. So
Uh-huh.
like at one time at my work, I had to literally go, okay, and just take a moment and like take a couple breaths and just tune into who I am as a soul and why am I here right now, because it was intense, because I could feel it. And so yeah, I guess the big thing for myself too is, I know there are people out there that, you talk about, oh, connect with your guidance or ask a question. Well, they're never going to do that. Right. But it can be as simple also as there are people that will do it, but there are a lot that are like, yeah, whatever. maybe not our listeners, but for those that are like, yeah, whatever, it's just even taking a moment and a breath and just like tuning into, okay, in this moment of time, what am I here to do? What am I here to be a part of? What am I here to be of service?
Hmm.
And that service vibration and that fulfillment that really flows through all of us every day, no matter what we're doing, no matter if we're working at a computer, we're out getting the trashes, whatever we're doing, all the jobs, there's a fulfillment there for our soul essence. And that's really what helped me that day when I got amped up and I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling the pressure of I got to get the invoices done. I have to do this and the emails. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, just relax. And I just tuned back into, I'll say, my true feelings, like that kind, loving part of me, and was able to really focus more on where am I at right now and who I am.
Well, the key word for this month is magnanimity.
Say that 3 times.
Magnanimity, being magnanimous, generous, and which really fits for December. But from a spiritual perspective, that's being magnanimous is, if I'm really of service and I'm relaxed, that's a form of, I had somebody in business the other day get real frustrated with every little step of the procedure that we had to go through to sell some equipment. And they laughed at themselves, as well. And I remember telling myself, we're just kind of tuning in. It's like, the main thing I can do is just stay relaxed as they move through this. And I don't have to get amped up back at them. I don't have to tell them to behave in some way or another, or it's just relax, be clear. And that strikes me as being magnanimous in that situation is, it wasn't completely fair of them to lose a mature person who's well-educated to lose their temper over little steps in the procedures. Of course, it wasn't completely fair, but my job is, what helped me and in that situation was be magnanimous. And what was so funny was after the transactions took place and they were really thankful, they thanked me about 3 times for helping them. And I thought, boy, it's so easy, which is a key word that's also coming up, is that anytime I start thinking something's going to be hard, just go, relax. It's actually easy. I'll start step 1 and then I'll do step 2 and I'll move through it. So I guess we have a choice, be a healing vibration or contribute to the confusion of the pressure.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I was going to say how no matter what energy we're radiating, whether it be of stress or whether it be of relaxing or calm and clear, that radiates out. So I know, you and I regroup all the time about, things that go on during our day and how it all kind of, ends out at the end of each situation. But it is so true. Like the more that we can stay, there's moments, when I get, kind of ramped up a little bit, but how do I get myself, back down to a little more calm? Because when I'm ramping up about something, or maybe I'm tuning into someone else, it's stimulating something within me, but I don't need to really go there because that all radiates out. So to be a healing, force in the world, it's good to stay relaxed.
Yeah. And, people are going to go through some challenging experiences, like
We
you
all
mentioned,
do.
somebody's, people lose their jobs sometimes at this time of the year, retrenchments or layoffs take place. Restructuring. People are going to go through health issues and they are serious. But if I, get involved in all that drama, I can't be of service. All I can do is be here now and, radiate, like be a healing force and, let's contribute to the healing part. Because as you were sharing with me the other day, everybody's got these experiences that we're all going to attract and go through at different times. But it takes, in fact, you came to me and you were telling me, I can really see in this situation where your mom's not feeling well, that you looked at it positively and you said, my guidance, maybe you could share a bit about that. And I thought, and my response was, Yeah, that's the little mental discipline, is to stay in that frame of mind through the experience rather than buy into the drama of the situation.
Well, it was really taking myself out to that bigger picture and then tuning into soul to soul is what I did.
Uh-huh.
Because she hasn't been feeling good, and she's in a bed for almost 3 weeks now. Like, who would feel good laying in a bed and not being able to be mobile and get around? So on the way home, yeah, I was tuning into, and I was, starting to actually get kind of emotional because I feel for her, and I feel so much for the situation and what she's been through and what she's going through. And so I then just pulled myself back a bit, and I just recognized, okay, as a light, I'm a light, she's a light. And so on our journeys, we're all here to experience and to be involved in different healing modalities and different healing time frames and different things we're experiencing, opportunities for, learning and growing. And I recognize, and I could feel it, what she's going through is such a pivotal thing for her soul. And it's actually not only just for her soul, but it's also for like the generations before and after. I know we sometimes mention that about how, the healing spreads out over time in different, different ways dimensionally. But not to get all woo-woo and weird about it, but it really does. Like, what she's going through right now and her soul's going through, it affects everyone that she's around, and it has maybe not even come in yet.
Mm-hmm.
As the Earth's crust shifts and changes, our lives do the same. One way to maneuver through the small and large moments that shake us to the core is by reviving your connection to spirit, gathering ways to cleanse your energy field, embracing spiritual awarenesses to give you a bigger picture, and knowing that you are not alone on your journey can be a great support. The Soul Quake Survival Guidebook is a great companion to meet you where you're at and support reviving your connection to spirit in earth-shaking times. Get your copy today through Amazon worldwide in paperback, ebook, or in audio, and begin embracing more clarity, inner peace, and enthusiasm for your life and what you've come to do.
Yeah, and we're just practicing.
I like that.
I found when, I've been in those business situations, for example, or I'm dealing with a lot of people, that, there's hours that I'm working, or half-hour periods where I go, I actually was getting impatient, or I was getting, annoyed with the person I was trying to help. And I said to myself, just take a deep breath and relax. I'm just practicing. And then when I restarted the next hour, let's say, I got another keyword from my guidance, and I said, okay, yeah, I could have, next time I want to stay more relaxed. We're all just practicing. So it's great that we experience the emotions. I've often shared, like, it's just good that I don't get caught in them. Acknowledge it, okay, let it flow through, and then move on to my solution. But I really wanted to say that, reinforce when you were sharing about what the insights you were getting about the bigger picture, and how that was that helped you stay relaxed so you could be of service. And I said to myself, yeah, that's a good example for me too. I relate to that. Like, I just need to make sure I stay in that frame of mind. Like, that's what I'm practicing. That's moving into a new level of consciousness or awareness.
Mastery.
Working with that bigger picture of what's really going on. And I know that one of the components for it, I think one of the solutions for me, is that, we talk about living in the moment. And, that's really this, everything's okay right now. I'm in this feeling of relaxed, solution-oriented, positive, kind of a vibe. And, sometimes when the pressure is really on, like when there's a big drama or disaster, like when I was in law enforcement, I found that I could just really relax in that situation. That I bet you other people would say something like that, and be in the present and just work with what's, in front of me in a positive way. And, it's good practice. Let me put it that way.
Well, I like the fact that we're all just practicing, because sometimes it feels like maybe I didn't get it right, but did I get it wrong? And honestly, I didn't. it's neither one, right? It's because it's just practicing. So actually, I find that sometimes when I do go through, opportunities or obstacles and they're challenging, those are the times I learn the most from.
Yeah, and I was thinking about sometimes this time of year there'll be a lot of gift giving, and people will get jealous of what other people get or what they can afford, and you know, the religions might teach us like, oh, that's bad. You're being bad because you're getting jealous. That's one of the sins. And but from a spiritual perspective, what's helped me is to just go, whoa, I'm getting a little envious there, or oh, I'm getting a little jealous. What fear is being stimulated in me that moves me in that emotional direction rather than just relax. It's all good. I'll get what I need in perfect timing. And one other area I wanted to talk about was, there's certain thoughts that have moved in, and especially with older folks, I notice that, I'll hear this as I'm sharing with people around me that they have regrets in life. They got to this certain age and they wish they made a decision differently, or boy, I would have had this if I didn't do that, and all that kind of thing. And again, the mental discipline, as much as that word bothers me, I have to take a look at that.
Right.
Or the is, that, I did the best I could at the time. If it were to happen now, I would definitely do something differently, or I'd evaluate that decision from another perspective. I have the experience. And then that kind of allows me to forgive myself and just move on. But really, again, having that, those positive thoughts that, I can create whatever I want at this stage. I still can attract what I need. I can still move in the direction of fulfilling work. It's never too late as long as I wake up every morning. So I guess that's something that I admire in you, is that when you become aware, you really practice, the techniques and practice that discipline where, our awareness grows from that. And then over time, like not that long really, but just a few goes at it, I find that my awareness does change and I do start thinking differently. It's just what happens. And I start experiencing life more from that positive perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like, for myself, like, once I know something, I cannot unknow. And especially when it's something that I know that I can benefit by moving through a different way than I was previously.
Yeah.
And it comes back to me also, like, with age, like, when I was in my teens or my 20s or even 30s, like, the things we put together for ourselves as we go through these experiences and the different cycles of life, especially. It's just profound when we get to the point where you and I now are in our 50s and 60s, so we've been here a little while, right? So we've put together some things, and I guess that's the thing that I like about life is that the longer we're here, the more we have the opportunity to accept a more masterful way to move through life. That's really what it's
Right.
about.
Yeah, and often people share that as they get more mature, and that they we were just listening to a travel log show, and
Oh yeah.
and the host is like 76, and he goes, the great thing about 76 is I really don't care what other people think. And I remember hearing older people say that in the past, but boy, that's true. There's a real opportunity to just move beyond the games. And what's funny is watching other people, say in their 20s and 30s, boy, they're going to go through the games no matter what. And I have to stay relaxed as I realize, they're just learning and growing through their own experiences.
Yeah, I think that's one of the blessings of recognizing the wisdom through the ages, because I too, work with probably half the people I work with are in their 20s, and I'm like, oh my, just the experiences and the things they do and the things they say and the way they do things. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I've moved beyond that, and now I can appreciate moving through it, because I'm like, man, it's just a phase. It's just, it's the things you do, or the the interactions and how you interact with other people at that age versus when you're 57, 58, right?
Yeah, and it's important for us to be magnanimous or have that magnanimity for ourselves, because the religions sometimes teach people that they're little worms and they're not worthy, and oh, I'm a sinner, and all that kind of thing. And so what happens is we get into this infinite do loop, as an engineer might say, where, oh, I was bad again, and now I got to beat myself up mentally and punish myself so that I won't be bad again. When really the way out of that, to move up, is to just relax with ourselves, and accept it as a learning experience, and take a moment to, well, what's the fear that's driving that? Why am I getting caught in that? Oh, it's not even me. It's this person around me. Oh, it's my little fear, being taken advantage of popping up again. Okay, there's no one can take anything from me, and no one really can give me anything as a soul. So once we have those positive affirmations, it's got to come from my true feelings. Once I feel it, like you say, it's hard for me to go back.
Spiritual growth is not a race. It's a gradual progression. You do not have to spend 24 hours a day working on it in order to feel more inner peace, deeper connection to your soul purpose, and feeling more confident in your daily life. The journey is all about balancing your physical and spiritual worlds. These two worlds are supportive for embracing the foundations of the real you. By just investing minutes a day for your spiritual part as you would invest in your house or other areas of your life. To gather more direction, clarity, and a new layer of inner awareness, check out the ebook set created by the Wayshowers College. Link and discount code in show notes.
Yeah, so let's go there. Let's go into your true feelings, because I had someone on social media today ask me, and they said, Tom talks a lot about true feelings on the podcast. I'm like, yep, he does, because that we do, right? And she's like, are there false feelings? What exactly are true feelings? So Tom, share what exactly to you is true feelings.
Well, for me, when I'm really feeling happy and free, and that I acknowledge that I have the power within me. I have all the brains I need. I have all the looks I need. I have all the resources I need to move to the next step. And if I'm honest with myself, I'm like really happy with everything I've got. Like I prefer the situation I'm in, for whatever reason, and that's all good. But emotions, they're like feelings we've been taught to feel. So if emotions also communicate what our true feelings are. But if I'm kind of caught in that, those reoccurring, negative emotions, that's usually just programming that we picked up in our first 7 years. Sometimes when we experience a block, I often say, like, it's so subtle. It's just this little fear, maybe being, one of the blocks, fear of being taken advantage of. It's like just holding back a little bit instead of just being of service. Or it's never something I say out loud in my head, like, oh, I better hold back. No, I don't even articulate it. It's more like when I get out of balance, if I'm under pressure, then I might hold back. And so if I hold back in my communication, then that keeps me from getting what I need, at the right time sometimes. That would be one example. But
so
we all have different, areas that we work on.
So
ahead.
Are there false feelings?
Yeah, I think it's just your emotions, that
You call that false feelings?
Yeah. For me, that's what it would mean to me. If somebody said, what are false feelings? Well, I'm in my emotions. Or another thing is, rather than in my true feelings, but when I'm relaxed and cleansed and feeling like everything's okay, that's when I really get a feeling for something. Or really, it's the good, kind, loving, sharing, service-oriented part of us is our true feelings as a soul. Because, I always come back to, I always have been and I always will be. And the more I learn about the universe, it's so infinite. It's, beyond this intellect's comprehension. And maybe just when you pick up those thoughts and feelings from other people. I mean, they're real. There's energy there. That's the interesting thing about energy is I realized this week, it's like there's energy there, but it's not my, true feelings.
You want to ask me?
Yeah. What are how did you put it? What are false feelings? What does false feelings mean to you, or what are the false feelings?
Well, I want to start with true feelings first.
Okay.
So to me, a true feeling is when I literally am relaxed and I feel connected to who I am as a soul. And you're talking about emotions. So to me, emotions are what we pick up from our parents, the environment, the things that we learn from others.
Like programmed responses.
Program responses. But I can feel, so when I'm in my true feelings, like the other day when I was tuning into my mom and how I felt and feeling her situation, I started to tear up and cry.
Uh-huh.
And that's an emotion, but it's also my true feelings because I felt, the love and I felt the compassion for that soul and what she's currently going through and has gone through this lifetime for her own soul's growth. So, so there's a fine line between the emotions and being emotional, right?
Right. Well, that's a really great distinction.
Because it's funny because
For
I
me.
thought about, I've on social media, I've seen people who have been emotional wrecks, really, and they get on, they do a live or they do a video and they just bawling and they're crying and people are, commenting, oh, this, and like it's really intense. And to me, that is, not your true feelings. That's like an emotional, like almost like a breakdown, and so I don't know. I guess what I was trying to say is Spirit was showing me what my true feelings is when I'm, in that essence, and when I'm, starting to well up and feel the emotions rise and come out of my eyes, and then when I can be an emotional in turmoil and connected to something that's not really my true essence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and even the psychologist and psychiatrist will say, allow that emotion to flow through, but release it.
Right.
And that's what we say from a spiritual perspective is you can allow that. Because if my true feelings are, I have boundaries, I want to be respected. If somebody starts stepping on my toes, I'm going to have emotions about that. I'm going to communicate. So they're a form of communication. I think everybody has to ask themselves and reflect a little bit with their guidance, get a key word to help that person, for example, for them in their experience, what's the difference? How do they feel about it? What do they feel is the difference between their emotions and their true feelings? So there's nothing wrong with anything, but there's a point where what are you going to do with the energy that you've got to work with? Are you going to dissipate it in your emotions? Allow it to flow through, and then let's move on, to the next step. But it takes practice sometimes because we have to unlearn things we've been doing for, a lifetime or even longer.
Yeah. So I feel that's a good stopping place. So let's do some final words on this time frame. And for myself, I feel that especially December moving into the new year, it's definitely a time to honor where each person's at individually, and also to reflect upon, the year, but also, be, honor where other people are at. I guess that's the big thing because people are going through all kinds of stuff. And this is also a time frame where, a lot of things percolate in people from past Christmases and past, seasonal events which that's a whole other podcast episode, right? We're not going there today. I'm not going to open up that can right now, but just really honor and work with, your true feelings and how to stay relaxed as others around you move through things.
Yeah, I think that's, I was picking up something very similar, like the words I would use is, respect, like you say, respect that's what folks are going to have to go through. I respect myself as well, that sometimes I'm moving through some experiences and emotions and I'm still practicing. I'm still putting it together. Be magnanimous with others, be magnanimous with myself first, which is just respecting. And, one of the ways I'm going to do it today is I keep getting this keyword easy, and I have a couple projects in mind, and I noticed that I go, oh my God, I got to pack that thing up. And, that there's this tendency to go there, like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And And then I go, wait a minute, my guidance said the keyword was easy. And it's like, relax, just work with it easy, one step at a time. I know how to do things easy, but once in a while, my guidance can help me, remind me. And I think what you brought up is something like, don't allow people to go through their learning experiences and have respect for that soul's growth. And once I tune into that bigger picture, that helps me keep that rudder in that ship. And it's not to say I'm not going to be emotional. I've heard the angels cry sometimes over, things we continue to do to ourselves, or the dead ends we walk down every time, kind of a thing. And I thought about like angels being emotional. How does that make sense? Kind of a thing. But for me, it's, just respecting that I'm going to have my learning. It's all a stage, it's all a stage of being aware of what I'm feeling.
Okay, so that's the end of this episode. Thank you for listening in to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. We hope you might have gotten some insights for yourself on moving through this time frame wherever you're at or wherever other people are around you. If you need any support, check out, we've got a lot of links below to the book, the Soul Quake Survival Guide, also to our videos and other ways that we can support you. So until next time, remember that
life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.